Gibby, you're telling us about the positive vibes on a flight home after a big win.
Yeah, hey, you guys didn't insult me, man. I didn't hang up on you.
Okay.
No, they needed that, and they really needed probably this day off today. That'll do them good. But it's been a tough go. Like I said, it's been a tough go in their division. And I used to say all the time to the media, and I guess it kind of sums it up. Hey, in the end, if we're good enough, we'll be there. If we're not, we won't. And because it's tough to when you play that many games, and baseball is probably not. It's not a lot X's and O's like a lot of other sports. It can be really tough for a manager to screw it up, man. So just turn your boys loose, and sometimes you got to get out of the way. And if you're good enough in the end, you'll be there. If you're not, you won't.
Gibby, I wanted to ask you something. They did get 2 or 3. It is, seem to be – it's a positive sign for the team. And usually in baseball or any sports, you could connect something to something else. Guys aren't hitting. You can come out as the manager and say, well, look at the pitchers we just faced. They're really good. But the one thing I can't figure out is the dumb mistakes on the base pass, being thrown out at second, just having outs on the base path. How is that happening? Like, what is the connection there other than being dum-dums?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that shouldn't happen. I mean, occasionally, okay, you'll get somebody that's a little bit too aggressive, okay, trying to make something happen. Okay, that happens to every team. Yeah. But when it happens too often, I mean, now you're not using your head. You're not sometimes you just you can't force things in the game unless you're like a real speed guy or something. You can make things happen on the base paths, but sometimes you just got to rely on the guy behind you, man. You got your knock. All right, let's go. Sometimes we can go station to station. It's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, those are the things that kill you, and you see it all the time too. Guys trying to go from second to third when there's going to be a play at the home, and they run. And I'm not sure if that's happened, but they run into an out at third. And you're going, what are we doing? We're already in scoring position. So sometimes being conservative isn't a bad thing, especially if you're from the South.
Yeah, well, that's probably true, too. Yeah, I guess that's already built in a lot of ways.
Had to get that in there. Sorry, boys.
Yeah, no problem. With John Gibbons. We're into late May. They've played a lot of ball games, over 50 now, but you still got a long way to go. It seems like when you still have more than 100 games, like that's always the reference point. You still got more than 100. A lot of things can happen. But as you know, Gibby, with this division, you got the Rays, who are 10.5 up on the Jays. You're chasing the Orioles. They're way up on you. You're still chasing down the Yankees. Like, as a manager, put us in the clubhouse here. What is the messaging in terms of the goal? Like, is it still we can win the division? Are you transferring to a wild card conversation, or do the standings just not come up and it's simply wins, losses, and everything will sort itself out?
Well, to be honest, I can only speak for myself, but we didn't have team meetings. All right, this is where we're at. We got to, we're in this position. We can still do this or that. I think everybody kind of understands when they look at, where they're at. The problem with being in such a tough division, when you got to start leapfrogging too many teams, that gets real tough. But on the other side of it, though, with the wild cards, it's done wonders for the game. Where I don't necessarily have to. I definitely don't have to win the division. I can still get in, and some good things can happen. And but I don't know how Schneider does it. But I think the players they're all aware of everything that's going on, and all it takes is a good long win streak. Blue Jays can go home now, and they can get on a nice little roll, with a good win streak, climb back in there, and this past week, 10 days are all forgotten. And but the kind of the mystery, I guess, has been they've struggled so much in the interdivision where I think last year they were pretty good.
Where are you at with the pitching, and especially young Manoah, who's really kind of struggled to stay out of the ditch?
Yeah, it's tough to put a finger on, and I wish I knew everything on the insides, what was going on. I think the big mystery is control issues. That's never really been a problem with him, and a lot of times that comes from maybe overthrowing. I know early in the year they were worried about his velocity being down because he threw so many innings last year. Such a big bump in innings for him, from 2 years ago to last year. Maybe that affected him a little bit, but and then he's a young kid that's never really struggled. But everybody sees him as being so confident. But now he's taking his licks right now, and he's just got to keep working at it. The thing is, I hear people say, well, well, could you send him down? Yeah, of course you could send him down. But depends on what you got there to replace him too. But then there comes a time too. For the kid's well-being, you may have to do that. But the part that makes it so tough is he was like second or third Cy Young voting last year, right? So he wasn't like he was average Joe out there that was easy to send down. It's kind of tough to do sometimes because you're hoping this is it. It'll click here. It'll click here. But it's been a battle for him. So they're going to have to do something. They may have to save his confidence too before long. You never know.
If he sits in your office right in front of you, Gibby, and you're having a beer after a game, and no BS, what does your conversation sound like with him?
Let's see. I probably tell him, listen.
Like, would you say, what the hell's the matter with you? Like, would you try to figure, like, are you out of shape? Is your mind not in it? What would you say or do to try to get to the bottom of the mess?
Yeah, I don't think he's out of shape. I don't think he's always been that size, right? And he's a young kid. It's not like he's on the downhill slide, and that's really affected him. I would just tell him to get out of his own way because I guarantee you, everybody and their brother's got advice for him. All the fans do, all the coaches do, all the and it's in his head too. And he's scrambling like hell. He's a macho guy, but when you keep struggling like that can be tough too. And he used to. I mean, that was a big part of his success. I think is his bravado and his aggressiveness. And it's got to wane a little bit when you're struggling, doesn't it? So I'd tell him, listen, just let it rip. See what happens, and then let me make the decision when to take you out, or leave you in. But without knowing all the insides, whether maybe he's a little banged up, if he's hanging, or he's whatever it might be, it's tough to say. But eventually they may have to send him down to say, like I said, to save him. Roy Halladay got sent down to A-ball. He went on to have a pretty darn good career, but we'll see. Only they know. Only the guys in the clubhouse know.